Hi guys, and in this episode of Flight Controller Therapy, we'll be calibrating our current sensor. Let's get on with it. So, in a recent video, I broke this out of the box. This is the Toolkit RC WM150 watt meter, and we're actually going to be using this today to calibrate the current sensor on our flight controller in here. So I'm currently rebuilding this, so that's why the receiver's loose. We're not even going to use that today, so let's get it out of the way. So as you can see, this is a really tight build. And what we're going to be doing is calibrating this flight controller, which is a Maytech F411 wing, which has got an onboard current sensor, which you might just be able to see the shunt resistor down here. So what I'm going to use is this, and I'm going to be using a tool on my website to calculate the exact figures for this particular flight controller. It will be different. If you have another F411 wing, it will be different. So the only way to get it close is by calibrating it yourself. So I'll be using this because we do need something accurate to measure the watts or the amps that are being pulled through the battery. Another option that we could use is a multimeter with a custom-made loom on it. So you'd plug this into here, your battery into here, and then you would use the amp setting. So 10 amps, but there is a limit of 10 amps on this, and to be honest, if you're holding it just under 10 amps consistently, it will blow the fuse in these things. I've blown the fuse quite a few times, which is why I ended up investing in one of these. But it can be done, and I have a video for how to make this simple loom, which I'll put up there. So if you want to try it that way, you can, but you will be limited to 10 amps. This thing is rated at 80 amps constant and up to 150 in a burst. So there'll be plenty for this thing here. Now, before I get on and get started with this needs to be done with a prop on. So there is a bit of potential danger to this. So what you really want to do is make sure that the model is secure. Ideally, if you have a barrier between the prop and yourself, that would be even better. So I just want to take another few seconds just to make things abundantly clear that this can be dangerous. So it's a little disclaimer. If you chop your fingers off, I'm not taking responsibility. I've pointed out it's dangerous. Please be very careful when you do this. If you're under 18 or whatever's considered a child in your country, please get an adult to help you with this. But basically, you could lose fingers if this goes wrong, or worse, it could end up in your face. So please be careful. Disclaimer over, back to the video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this plugged in, and then what I'm going to do is head over to the desktop and show you where the calculator is and how to get all that set up. Okay, so the first thing what I'll do is show you the tool that we're going to use. So this is over at my website, which is Mr.D.rc.com. And if we head over to the tools, INAV flight, and setting up the current sensor. So there are instructions here on how to do it. But there's instructions for using different types of meters. But what we're interested in is just the tool here. So what I'll do is I'll swipe this over to the side and we'll open INAV as well. Is it going to fit? No, that's wonderful. So what we'll do is I'll keep both windows open so we can see what's going on, but for the time being, let's get INAV set up. So all I'm going to do for the time being is plug USB into the flight controller. Get that in the computer, and then we'll be able to connect up. So we swap it around, we can see a bit better what's going on. So what we're interested in, first off, is the configuration page. And what we need is the current scale for the current sensor. So on this, it's 443. So we're going to copy that. But we also need to make sure that the offset is set to 0. So if it's not, set it to 0 and then save and reboot. But ours is fine. So we're going to get the 443. And then we're going to put that into the current scale at the top. Now what we'll be doing is taking readings, and we can put the readings into these boxes here. Actually, I wonder if I can get that smaller. It looks a bit crap, but it will work. And the more readings we take, the more accurate it will be, because the way it actually takes the readings, or the way it works out the current sensor scale, is using a thing called the line of best fit. So what I'll do now is just show a quick example of how the line of best fit works. So what we have here is an Excel spreadsheet, and what you need to imagine is that this is our current sensor scale, and these are this is the slope that it's worked out, and this is the new scale that's suggesting. So this is our readings that we've got in the flight controller, and this is the readings that we've entered in from our multimeter. And what it does, it uses those readings to create these plot points. And as you can see, they're slightly offset from the line, but what it means is that the line can average out but it averages out so that it fits best between those points. So the more points that we put on here, the more accurate our reading or our line is going to be. And what it will actually do in the tool on the website, it carries that line down, and then it measures the difference between 0 and where the line intersects the 0 here, and that gives you the offset. So it calculates absolutely everything that we need. Sorry to interrupt this video again, but I came to the conclusion that I didn't actually explain why we're using this method at all. There's plenty of other videos on YouTube where they explain how to calculate the current sensor readings, where you basically fly your battery, record how many milliamps were drained from the pack during the flight, put it on your charger, compare the two, run it through a calculator, and it will adjust the scale for you. I mean, I even used to have a calculator to do this on my website too. So people do it, people recommend it, but it's not as accurate. And this is the reason why I'm bringing this video in, is the accuracy. I mean, the way to look at it, first of all, is you're using two devices to compare current. So you have a current sensor on the aircraft, and then you have the device that you're going to use to calculate the new current. So in this case, it would be a multimeter, a clamp meter, or a watt meter. And they're all devices that have been specifically designed and built to measure current and power. So it's their primary task. So they should be pretty accurate. On the other method, you're using a battery charger, which, even though it does measure these things, it's not one of its primary roles. That the way that it works out whether your battery is full or not doesn't involve how many milliamps you put into it. It's a secondary feature. So it may be that they're not as well configured as these power meters. But even if you said those two are equal, on the battery charger method, there's still other things we need to take into consideration. For example, there's human error. There's quite a lot of human error, because with our chargers, some chargers will just charge the packs up until one cell is at the right level and then stop. Other pack chargers like ISDT will charge to at that level or just below it, and then drain the power out to balance charge it. And what, as humans, we have to decide is, when is it close to how much we've actually used in flight? Because if we stop it early, we're actually putting less back in than we've recorded to take out. So, for example, if you have one cell that's at 4.2 volts and the other's at 4.16, 4.17, those two cells are low. So you haven't put that capacity back in. So on the other hand, if you're balance charging, the way that works, it will charge a cell up to just over 4.2 volts and then drain that one back down and put more charge in and then drain it back down until they're all up to that 4.2 volts, in which case it's putting a lot more back into the pack than we've drained in flight. So it's not a very accurate method of doing this. But the other thing is all that method does is adjust the scale. And what we can see on the graph on the screen, there is an offset. And the chance of having a zero offset is very, very minimal. So these calculators that just compare old and new scales compared to how much has been taken out of the pack, they're not going to include an offset at all. So the slope or the scale is going to be compromised already. So as you can see, there's quite a few things going against using that method. It's not going to be very accurate. And to be honest, you're better off just using the original scale provided by the manufacturer. So in this example, the scale provided by Maytech was only like 2 points off, and then use a static reading to adjust the offset. That would be more accurate than doing the discharge and charge method, because that will put things way out of whack. So yeah, that's why we're doing this, is because it is much more accurate. The thing the other method does have is you don't have spinning props near your face or near your hands, so it's a lot safer, and I'm not denying that, which is why I've put so many warnings in this video for safety. So that's why we're doing it. It is a lot more accurate, but there are the safety precautions. But anyway, let's get back to the video. No more interruptions, I think. I'm recording this the day after I've even uploaded it, so I'm going to upload it again. But enjoy the rest of the video, folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple more points. Doesn't matter how many. If you add too many, you can't get rid of them. But if you don't fill them in, it just ignores them. So, and it doesn't matter which order you enter them. You can have a gap here, here, or here, wherever, and it will just ignore the gaps. All you really need to do is make sure the flight controller goes this side, the power meter goes this side, and then it will all be fine. So what we're going to do in configurator, I'll see if I can get them both on the same. It doesn't look like it's going to close up enough to get them both on. But what we want is the outputs page, because we can do everything from here. We're not going to use our transmitter at all. Everything will be done on here. And what's really handy is we have our current sensor values here. So what we're going to be doing is just using this motors panel, and that will provide us with everything. But what we need to do first is get back to the bench and set everything up here. So what we'll do is head back over, and as you see, we've got INAV connected up. We need a battery that we're going to be using for this plane. Make sure it's fully charged. So this is pretty much fully charged to pretty much 4.2 volts per cell. And then what we're going to do is plug in our meter. So that's the load goes to the flight controller, and then the source goes to the battery. So as you can see, we're not doing anything, and we have 0.16 volts here, or amps, sorry, but 0.49 over on INAV. One other thing that I'm going to show you is, obviously we've not got a receiver connected. So what we need to do is make sure that the control surfaces don't move, because I'll be holding the plane nose into the desk so that when the motor's on, it pushes down onto the desk. So what we're going to do is switch back over here. We'll find our modes. There we go, modes. And what we want to do is go down and find manual. And then we're just going to add a range, and that's fine because it's just so that it's selected now. So we can see it's gone blue, so manual is enabled. We just need to, once this is done, we just need to delete this. You could bind up your transmitter and switch it to manual in your transmitter, then you can avoid that, but that's just an easy way of getting around it. So what we'll do, go back to our motors, or sorry, outputs. There we go. And now we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the model up, try and get it so that we can see the screen. It's more important than I see it than you guys do, but there we go. So as I say, what we'll be doing is enabling outputs, and then we'll be taking readings. So I'm going to add a little bit of power, just so we've got something going through it, and I'm going to take that as the first reading. So flight controller is at 1.1, and the power meter is at 0.7. So we're just going to go up or down the power and just take a few more readings. 1.88. 1.60. So there we go. That's our readings. This meter. So I'll just unplug the power. So the motor is now completely dead. We don't need to worry about that. But this meter was all right. It's not got a very good angle on the screen for viewing it. So if it twists, it's not so easy to see. But if you're straight on, it's easy enough to read. So yeah, that works quite well. Whoop, nearly knocked the microphone over. So what we're going to do now is head back over to the computer, and what we'll do is we have our values from our flight controller and our power meter, and then we just click calculate sensor values. So now what we need to do is enter these new values into INAV. So back to configuration. There we go. So our new current sensor value is 445. So it's actually not far off. I found this on the web. Bugger off, Siri. 445, but it also gives us an offset of 12.3 millivolts. And that's the difference between 0 and where the line intersects. So that there, put that to 12.3 and we're done. You can use this with beta flight, and it actually gives you the offset in milliamps because beta flight uses the milliamps for the offset. But that's all there is to it. So you set those two values, save and reboot. While that's saving and rebooting, don't forget you need to remove the manual setting from the modes that we added. And that's it, done. And you see the current sensor is now at 0 because we've pretty much got nothing going through it whatsoever. So that will give you a nice accurate current sensor for when you're flying. But that's how you do it. It's nice and simple. You just really got to be careful with this thing here. Another quick thing to mention is on smaller planes where they don't have a very big current draw, you may find that the current sensor reading in INAV, so if I go back to outputs, you may find that this reading here jumps about quite a lot. And what you can do to help remedy that is put a 470 microfarad low ESR capacitor on the ESC. So if I switch over, you may not be able to, actually, that capacitor there is on my ESC. That's, yeah, it's 470 microfarad, 36 volt on this, because this will be running at 6S. So if you put one on the ESC, it will actually smooth out the reading, stop it jumping about so much. This is an F4 on one wing, so if you've got one of those, chances are you've got capacitors everywhere to try and make the video actually usable, especially if you're over sort of 25 amps. The video is actually atrocious on these. So that's why I have 3 capacitors and an LC filter, and the video is not too bad now. But anyway, I'm blabbering on. We've done what this video is about, so I won't take up any more of your time. So if you found the video useful, a thumbs up would be great. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to get information about the new videos that will be coming soon. If there's any topics you'd like me to cover, drop a message. And if you found the video crap, thumbs down. But if you do thumbs down, please leave a comment to tell me what you thought was rubbish about the video and what I can do to improve it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. The video weather's pretty crap today, but when it gets better again, get out there, fly it like you stole it. Have a great time and see you later. Bye.